Thank you all for attending. I much appreciate this. It's a change in format. As you know, I've been in my term doing an update by video and email every couple of months, sometimes not exactly every 2 months, but regularly, just to keep you up to date. And it's starting to feel a little artificial because I sit here at this same desk talking to this same camera, but there's nobody on the other end. And while I've got really good feedback from you, and I really appreciated the support and the encouragement to continue to do this, it just felt like we should take advantage of the technology we have to have two-way interactions. We do have the online seminar, which we host on the 4th Wednesday of every month, but that's for management consultants generally and deals more with the practice of management consulting. So this forum is more for the chairs, the directors of boards and the executive directors, for us to talk about the business of managing management consulting institutes. I think it's a great opportunity and we have the ability, so let's try it. So we'll see how it goes. I'll wait for your feedback to see whether we continue this. If you feel it's worthwhile, we'll continue on every month through the rest of my term. So that will give us some opportunity to share ideas. The format is will be the same for all the sessions, again, depending on feedback from you, but start off with a general update, much as I would have been doing in my video updates to you on terms of what we've been doing since the last update, and then have one Q&A on that, and then have a discussion generally about a topic that's of general interest. So the topic we've chosen for this one is ICMCI Strategy, because as you will soon hear, we just recently had our strategy session at the ICMCI board. And then that provides us an opportunity to discuss strategic issues and for me to get feedback from you in terms of the perspective of institutes on the global strategy. So that's the format. I'll just dive in and give you the update for a few minutes. I won't take a lot of time for this, and then we can get into the Q&A session. So in terms of activities, I'm reporting since January because the last video update I had for you was in January. And the main activity from my perspective in the governance role was our board meeting in February. Each February, we've typically had a face-to-face meeting, and this is where the board gets together for, again, typically 2 days, and we can really hash out the strategy, the implementation, how things are going, what needs to change, how can we continue to add value to the institutes. This year, of course, we couldn't do the face-to-face, and I don't think anybody's crazy enough to try to do a Zoom meeting for 2 days. So we had 2 3-hour sessions on one day. So 3 hours break and then 3 hours. And it was a very productive meeting. We did the working papers in advance. Everybody read them, prepared. So we didn't have to have that time for discussion and just really got down to the issues. And I'll report on that meeting in the next session when we talk about strategy. We've been working with REMA in terms of the hub and annual meeting. And the board has decided that this year, let's not play around. Let's just say, bow to the pressure of what's going on and say there will be virtual meetings this year. So we'll go ahead in that way. We'll focus the hub meetings around the first Thursday of June, which is International Consultants Day. So that will be kind of the culmination of all of our hub meetings. The day before that, the chair of EuroHub, who's Jan Willem, also our treasurer on the board, has asked for the EuroHub meeting to be so it'll be the first Wednesday of June. And then the week before that, we will have the Asia Pacific Hub. The week before that, we'll have the Americas Hub. Juan and Konstantinos and Greg, I haven't written you guys on that yet, but will soon. We're also exploring an Africa hub this year because there's growing activity in Africa. And if we can pull together the key players there, we can have a very useful discussion. So that would be the activities in the earlier part of the year. And then that will culminate in our annual meeting of delegates in June. It'll be no, October. I'm sorry, October. It'll be the I think it's the second week in October.
11th of October.
I'm sorry?
11th of October.
11th of October. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jose. I appreciate that. So we will do it in this same kind of format. We'll have, as last year, we'll have one session for the Asia and other time zones, and then a second session for the Americas and other time zones. People can choose which one they want to come in. We'll submit written reports. And then between those two meetings of the delegates, we'll have several kind of conference-like sessions where we can bring interesting speakers together that people can join in and do that. So not quite a conference, but maybe dipping our toes a little bit into the idea of a conference that will be held virtually. So you'll be getting all of this information in writing, of course, once dates are finalized and chairs have agreed on meetings, but I wanted to give you that update. We will also have, we've also agreed together with our friends in Austria that there will be a virtual Constantinus Award this year. So last year we did not have a global Constantinus Award. Austria went ahead with their own in Austria. So we'll use that experience to have a virtual award probably just shortly in advance of the annual meeting. But again, that date hasn't been planned. But any of you that were thinking about and wondering about proceeding with your National Constantinus Awards programs, please do proceed, because we will have a forum for you for the International Award this October. The other activity I've been involved in heavily is the ICMCI 2020 Onwards Task Force. And this task force has been looking at growth and really trying to understand how to solve the problem of getting new entrants into management consulting into our institutes. We know that our growth generally has not been growing. Austria is a happy exception. Some of the other institutes are growing, but in general, our global numbers, if you take out Austria, which grows every year because they are a regulated profession, is something that needs attention from the perspective of ICMCI. We have to figure out how to attract these new entrants. And as most of our institutes are tackling that issue, the task force mandate was really to understand what's happening in the institutes and then come together with some perspectives globally in terms of how we can collaborate together to solve this problem. So the discovery phase ended just earlier this week with the last written submission. So almost all institutes participated either in a Zoom conference call or through a written submission to the questions of the task force. I attended most of them in spite of the time differences and found it very, very illuminating and reinforced a lot of the ideas we had, but also reinforced the needs that institutes are wrestling with this problem and that they welcomed a global initiative in this way. So I've just now asked the chair to give us the rest of the timeline in terms of when the report will be due, and you can be expecting to be receiving that probably over the next couple of months, and we'll keep you informed of that as well. I already mentioned that we're doing and continuing with the online seminar series. So the announcement just went out for the one that's going to be at the end of this month. So this is on coaching for consultants and how you can help your clients to be better coaches themselves. I met her at an online seminar for speakers for a group that works in, it's called Vistage. Maybe many of you may have heard of it. So I'm a speaker in Vistage, as is she, and I liked the approach so much. I said, would you address our consultants? And she agreed to do that, and Rima set up that meeting for us. So I won't report on all of the activities. At the Secretariat, there's 17 active programs that they're managing, and from the board perspective, we oversee those. But I just wanted to give you the highlights. So any general questions and answers or comments or insights that anyone has for us before we move into the main topic of the day, which is ICMCI strategy. So yeah, I intend this to be a very open forum where we can chat with each other. Do use the chat stream because that's helpful to communicate with each other while others are talking, but also let's use the microphones and the cameras to talk with each other. So any questions about my report or any thoughts? Alexandra?
Can I ask you, did we for task force you have some deadlines, but we didn't do anything, our institute. I'm sorry, lots of people have coronavirus in our institute. Okay, so we had that kind of the managing board. Now I had some consequences for 3 months. I'm okay now.
Okay, but, good, well done.
And take somehow get more 1 week for something if we want to enter somewhere. Just have that in mind. Okay.
Okay.
We are sorry.
Yeah, no,
If it is possible.
these are disruptive
some,
times for all of us. There's no question about that. So if you're able to get it into us within the next week or so, for sure we can get it in, because the analysis is starting and it'll probably start with the review of the video. So if we can get the written in with 1 week, we can sneak it down onto the pile, if into the virtual pile, if you're able to do that.
Okay, we will try, to do that.
Okay.
Just want to ask, I'm sorry, because we were not so active in this period, but we have good excuse for that. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, Alexander. I appreciate that. Any other comments or questions? Oh, you're a much friendlier group than this morning. They pulled me over the coals, didn't they, Dan? Show all those hard questions.
Dwight, a general question, and I'm delighted to be here as our president John is from Ireland, and we've kind of undergone that cathartic experience that everyone globally has with the onslaught of the pandemic. And it was indeed this day last year, as I recall, that we went into the first phase of it. So we're actually 12 months. This is the anniversary of the war, so to speak. But one of the issues when I talk to my American colleagues and my UK colleagues, that comes very much to the fore at the moment, and to what Alessandra has just said, is, and indeed echoed by Dwight, is that all the institutes have been really materially challenged in terms of how we go about our business and offer added value to our clients and members. So to that end, I was just wondering maybe to get a sense of renewal and rebirth, for example. How are people kind of finding membership renewal at this point? So we're into the first quarter now, we're into March. Okay, so how are the numbers holding up in terms of the annual renewals? I know that's a very material question, but I'm just wondering. So we're, just to give our report, I suppose, we're kind of there's an expression here in Ireland in the Catholic faith called a curate's egg. A curate would be a lower priest in the church. So a curate's egg is kind of not a great egg. It's soft and hard at the same time. It's a bit of both worlds. So we're a bit of both worlds. So we're doing quite well on some of the individual members. Okay, and again, within the individual members, we've seen really busy experiences where people have been really busy in certain sectors, and then in the service and hospitality sectors, they've been destroyed and absolutely slaughtered. So the tech sector, supply chain sector, pharma sectors, healthcare, they've all been, gangbusters, doing really well. Anyone in hospitality, tourism are getting killed. They're just dying on the vine, and they're trying to pivot as much as possible with the skill sets that they have available to them. And that's been okay. So I'd say our members, individual members, are holding they're holding the line to a certain degree. Where we are a little bit more kind of unsteady would be on the APC side. And the bigger houses. And I guess, in the conversations we're having with them, it's not that anyone has not renewed as yet, but you get a sense of these things. As consultants, we are, if nothing, agile, and we smell the wind as much as possible, and we tack with the wind. So I get a sense that a lot of the value that we add them is networking. Okay, and networking events in that space, and bringing together like-minded knowledge sharing, those sort of things, because to be brutally frank, they have their own horsepower and they have their own machines for management consultancy, so they're big beasts. So we are an added expense to a certain extent in terms of where they look at their overhead. So they have they could be paying into the chartered accountants, the various different institute professional memberships. So we are one of many, I guess, that their pots they're paying into. So that's been our experience. So it's been those two things. And again, the small practices have been steady. Generally, they say the value of it. But again, one of the big issues that we would have been pushing over the last few years is the aspect that membership is akin to a professional passport. So to be a member of the institute gave you a professional passport to practice your profession and trade anywhere. So, for instance, you could go down to Greece, which is part of the European Union, and practice down there. You could go over to the States or Canada and be accepted and recognized there. Similarly, between Ireland and England, there was before Brexit, and indeed it'll come again. There's a very close working relationship in the language and also the commission of how we go about our business. So that passport element of it was very important to an extent, but clearly with COVID, there ain't much traveling going on, Dwight. And I suspect there won't be a lot of traveling going on between here and Christmas. So that aspect of value kind of has diminished a lot. So I guess maybe feeding into your strategic point, A, to get a sense of how everyone is doing, but B, maybe, you know, where are people's thoughts in terms of how we can add value, both tactically more so than strategically in the short term.
Okay, excellent. Juan, I think I was seeing you holding it.
Yeah, I'd just like to comment on that. And after I do, I'm going to ask Greg our executive director, to talk about renewal and membership, because and Patrick, that's a very good observation, very good point, because it's membership. If we don't grow our membership and if we don't renew our members, you know what's going to happen eventually. And the trend throughout the US and I guess the world is that there's a downslope in terms of volunteerism and joining organizations. And it happened before COVID. There was a trend. I'm not even sure that COVID has added to it. But that is our number one issue. We just have gone through the renewal process. We've set some goals for membership, and we've been putting a great emphasis on social media, but we're kind of holding our own. So if you want statistics, there's no one better in the world than Greg to give it to you. Let me say one thing. I believe we know who the next chair of IMC USA is going to be. And what I've committed to that individual is that I'm going to place my personal emphasis on retention, because I don't think as an organization we do enough to retain people. They come on board and there's a hello and pretty soon they sort of get lost in the ranks and no one pays any attention to them. When I was in the corporate world, we referred to it as the buddy system. When someone came in to one of our organizations, we tried to maintain a relationship with that person. And we found out that if we got beyond a certain point, the likelihood of their continuing to be members was extended. So I've committed to her, to the individual we think will be the chair, that's what I want to focus in, retention, along with membership. We have another board member who's committed to it. So your issue is, I think, universal. It's not just not just with ICMCI. It's USA, and I think it's worldwide in terms of organizations. I belong to the Kiwanis Club, which is an organization, international organization that supports and helps children in need. And our membership has been going down. Somehow there is this decline in membership. There was a book written a few years ago called Bowling Alone, and it predicted a trend in a decrease in volunteerism. And I think we've seen that. And if our position is that that's the most important thing. I mean, strategically, that's the most important thing. Membership, and part of membership is renewal. Greg, you didn't, Greg?
Yes.
I'm handing it over to the man who he's a statistical machine. You ask him something and he remembers everything. So go ahead, please expand on that if you would.
So Greg, what are the chances of me getting a jab for the vaccine before this session is over?
Oh, yes. That's a great, I got my second one, by the way.
Well, I won't take too much time to give others an opportunity, but thank you, Juan, and good seeing you, Patrick. We had a nice conversation recently, and Dwight, thank you for making the meeting a little bit more interactive, although we liked your videos. This looks like it's being recorded, so others could enjoy it as well. So our membership trends have been consistent in terms of retention during the last 5 years. We're renewing about 73% of our members every year. The national average in the USA for a national professional society is closer to 85%. We feel that our numbers are down to that average based on our aging out of our members. Many of our members have been long-term loyal members and they're retiring. They're leaving the industry. We have a category for our retired members as well. However, they're not staying. The good news, 2020, we actually had our first membership turnaround by two. That's two members. Talk about every member counting. So 2 members more. We ended the year than we started off with. Huge milestone for IMC USA, considering the numbers had been trending downward for many, many years. Why is that? Juan mentioned a little bit about the marketing efforts that IMC USA is doing, the power of social media. We are challenged, like many, engaging those new members. We're finding that of the last 3 years, are those who have joined IMC USA, the majority of them are leaving. So our membership committee, our volunteer leaders, our board are looking at new ways to engage members. We have 11 chapters throughout the country. We're doing lots of online programming. We've added new virtual meetings each month to engage our members. Our annual conference this year will be virtual. Last year was a pivot. This year it's being planned. We had double the number of members participate in our conference last year. We think that was due to the lower cost of entry, no travel, and great programming. We had access to speakers that we normally would not have in our live meetings. So there's some great things happening. We are certainly not out of the woods. If you're looking for an IMC around the country to model after, I'm not sure we're the one yet. We'd like to be, but we're going to learn from others who are doing well, and we're going to learn from the profession, the industry as well. So thank you, everyone, for giving me the floor for a few minutes. Back to you, Dwight.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks very much. I should have mentioned earlier, we have this wonderful new tool in Zoom on the bottom right of your screen called reactions. So if you'd like to say something, if you click on there, you can raise your hand and that brings you right to the top of the screen so I can see you, as Randy just did. So Randy, you wanted the floor, and then I'd like to do a quick summation on this and move on to the main agenda for today. Randy?
Thanks, Dwight. I just wanted to mention that in our most recent Canadian delegate meeting, I think our renewals are running in the 80 to 85% for CMCs, which is quite good for this time of year. We're facing the same attrition issues that everyone else is. We are getting some new memberships joining, which is largely driven at the provincial institute level, the generation of new members. But a lot of the retention activities are happening at the national level in CMC Canada, and largely through some very good conference activities, good virtual speakers, and the provincial institute sharing the things that they're doing with members outside their geographic boundaries, which is really added to what we're offering in terms of member values. So those are just some of the things that are happening in Canada.
Thank you. So in summary, I think the points made here are quite consistent with what we've heard. I'd like to reiterate Juan's point with the research I've done and that we've done through the task force. This is an issue for professional associations generally, and it has been trending downwards over time, primarily driven by the access to knowledge, Google, et cetera, and the ability to network in other ways. So in my day, if you wanted to be a consultant, you joined the Institute because that's where you could find like-minded people. Now you don't have to do that. So we do have to find that new formula. In terms of what's happening globally, that is a problem, but there are some success stories out there, and we're studying those, and we're trying to figure out what the secret sauce is that they had and what elements of that might apply to us. So I'm looking forward to the task force report to help us with that. There are some success stories inside ICMCI as well. For instance, Singapore has had one of their best years ever, but at the entry level, which is really focusing in on the young entry-level consultants. They have a registered management consultant program there, and that is so it's not as it doesn't have the experience or the project requirements that the CMC does, so that they're finding that that is attracting the younger consultants. They've also, though, been able to negotiate funding from the government that anyone with an RMC gets their fees subsidized 50%. So that's a big plus for them, but hey, it's working for them. And there are other institutes that are growing, but they tend to be the younger, newer ones that are just starting in the marketplace. So we'll be getting all of that information for you. So we can come back to this on strategy if there are any outstanding issues, but I just wanted to give you a bit of an update on our thinking on strategy and what the board is talking about now. So in the last half hour, we can get some of your feedback on that and any insights that you have that you'd like to share. So the starting point is that there's a reaffirmation of the vision, our mission, and our goals. So these are things that typically shouldn't be changed regularly. And with all of the changes that have been induced upon us by COVID, there's no question that we've had to change our implementation plans, but the strategy and the goals the vision and the goals are still there. And our vision is to be a leader in the development of management consulting as a global profession. And that does drive economic and social success. So it's not just about growing the profession, it's growing the profession in a way that we're making a difference in our communities, helping our clients to be more successful, helping society to be better off as a result. And the three goals are aligned as you would expect. It's the profession. How do we increase the visibility and the expertise inside our profession? How do we make sure that it's the best profession possible? Our institutes. So how do we support our institutes, our member institutes, in terms of their growth, in terms of helping them to do their work better and more efficiently, and also in terms of whether we are bringing in additional institutes or how all of that works. And I'll come back to that in a second, because that's where most of our discussions are going now. And then the third one is the enabling of IMCs in the outreach side. So how do we increase the visibility of the CMC and the profession of management consulting? And we have some work to do globally, but we also intend to support institutes in their work. So that's ongoing. One of the key issues, and this has been coming to us from members in different ways, is rethinking the role of ICMCI in supporting institutes in their work. So are there different business models in terms of institutes? For example, over the last few years, we've lost 3 European-based institutes, so Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, all of them with thriving management consulting practices. So somehow in our formula of what it is to be an institute was not working in those 3 very important markets. So are there other ways of thinking about how consultants come together in a geographic region to network and to work with themselves that doesn't have the same kind of burden of administration and membership fees that it is to be a full-time member of ICMCI? And the answers to that question aren't exactly known, but it is important, and I think it's incumbent on us to ask some of these hard questions about where we're going. Not to undermine the importance of the institutes. I think this federation of national institutes doing the work that they need to do, coordinated by a secretariat of a federation of institutes, is critically important. But there are undoubtedly other ways of thinking about what that regional structure looks like. So we're getting key ideas, and the board spent time talking about that. And as we are able to enunciate that more clearly than I have just now, we will absolutely be coming back to institutes for feedback. And I could see this possibly being a discussion point at our hub meetings as we go forward. Coming up is the evaluation of ISO 27700. So in 2022, 2 years from now. So we have to be thinking about our role in supporting that standard. This has been one of our better programs in terms of uptake. We've developed it as a global program for teaching management consultants how to use the ISO 27700 through a checklist that was developed by ICMCI. We're getting increasing number of instructors, and the instructors are becoming increasingly active. So we are training more people in that. And this is of interest to a lot of new entrants into the management consulting profession, simply because it we're selling it as the entry level to the profession. These are the baseline of what you need to do as a professional management consultant. So someone coming in that's straight out of school or is just starting a practice can take ISO 2700 and understand that. There's also increasing discussion about how that might be put together with some elements of our Essentials program and perhaps emulate Singapore and some of the other institutes that have that entry level of certification that could attract new entrants into the profession. PSC, our Professional Standards Committee, is continuing their work. They're updating the competency framework, so you'll be hearing from them about that. It's going to bring it up to date in terms, it's already very strong, but they want to strengthen it even more, and there's been extensive consultation on that. And I'm looking forward to seeing that, because that's part of our goal number one, is how do we continue to strengthen the profession and ensure that our body of knowledge, our competency framework is best practices, undoubtedly best practices. We've been talking about the economic impact of the pandemic on institutes. As I just mentioned earlier, it's a mixed bag. Some are doing very well. Austria reported yesterday that they're continuing to grow. Singapore is growing. Some of our other institutes are doing well, as people seem to be migrating into consulting as opposed to staying in some of the other entrepreneurial activities they might have been in. But on the other hand, some institutes are feeling the pinch, and they're feeling the pinch this year because in 2020, most members had already renewed by the time the pandemic hit. So we're feeling the crunch now in 2021. So we've asked the executive director, Rima. Rima has joined us. She was having difficulties joining because they were redoing her network or something there. So the whole network was down, but welcome, Rima. So 2021 is the pinch year for institutes. So we've asked Rima and the treasurer, Jan Willem, to come back to the next board meeting with a plan for how we might revise or reduce or amend the membership fee structure for 21-22 budget year to provide some relief to institutes. When I mentioned that this morning, some institutes said they didn't need the relief, so maybe they might think about how to help some of those that did need it. So I don't think it's going to be as simple as saying 20% off the membership fee. But we do want to recognize those that are struggling and recognize that these are extremely unusual times, and we need to react to that. The last point I have, a couple more points. So the marketing plan, we do have a marketing plan, and as all of you will have seen, I hope that there's much more activity in our social media, and ICMCI is, and our marks, CMC, and the different activities are getting much more publicity. So we're doubling down on that. Johanna from Kosovo, who's the head of marketing now for ICMCI, is doing a great job on that. She's a director of the board and the chair of the marketing committee and leading our social marketing projects. Another project that will be of interest to you that Rima's taking the lead on with Rob from Austria, who's a director, is looking at digital automation processes. We do a lot of certification assessments, reassessments, and that is a process that's done now manually. And Olga, I think, will admit that that's ponderous in terms of getting all that documentation organized, making sure it's coming in a timely way, seeing who's done what when. So if we can automate that, it's going to solve a lot of the headaches that I think Olga and her assessors have, but it also reduces the workload on our secretariat so that they can focus in on more strategic issues. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I think the bonus out of that is if we can solve that problem and produce a model of automation of our assessment, reassessment processes, this is something that we can probably package that could help institutes in terms of your certification processes, because the general process is typically the same. And if we can give you a model that makes it easier for you to automate, then we can hopefully save you time and effort of your volunteers as well. And then the last point I wanted to raise is coming out of the strategy and discussions, we have noted that the bylaws, which were first put in place in, I think it's 2016, Rima can remind me, because there was a major restructuring at that point and a change of the bylaws. And there are a few things in there that aren't consistent. Always when you have a major update in bylaws, there's a few things that just don't quite make sense. So we're putting together for discussion some updates to bylaws and perhaps some insights into how we might strengthen the bylaws of our organization. So that would be coming up for our October annual meeting of delegates. So that's those are the kinds of discussions we had. I think the main one that's strategic that impacts upon you is the thinking about how does ICMCI support institutes in the best way possible, and what do institutes of the future look like, particularly with regard to new entrants into the membership of ICMCI. So, but it's an open book. If there's other things that you think we should be thinking about, or just other questions that you want to raise, please do jump in now. We've got about 20-25 minutes to talk about these things. One, the physical hand raise.
I'm sorry, I'm still old-fashioned.
No, I see you, so that's good.
I'm curious, and Greg knows, more than 45% of our memberships are at large. We don't have a membership, they don't have chapters as such. And we've assigned one individual on the board to oversee that. And I'm just wondering how that stacks up with your group, and what are you doing to address that if there is a large number of at-large individuals that are members?
Tamara, I might ask you to address that, because by definition, GI is pretty much at large, and then anyone else that wants to jump in, please do.
Absolutely. That's why we're here. One, the Global Institute of the CMC Global Institute is supporting members in countries where they're still looking at developing, grouping themselves as consultants, helping them form a local institute. And we've been doing that successfully in different countries. So yeah, we're happy to support where needed.
So the majority of they're all at large then?
Exactly.
Okay.
All our members are at large.
You know, I should have realized that.
Until there's enough numbers in a certain geography for them to start forming their own institute.
I was in Russia 2 years ago, and Costas was good enough to put me in contact with some Russian consultants, and there we met in the lobby of a hotel. So anyway, but of course, that's stupid on my part. Meaning I could see that being the case. So it does work.
It does work, and many institutes have a geographical area that's small enough that they don't need sort of branch networks to be able to get together. So they have the
Of
one.
course.
Any other examples people want to share? Or any other questions? We can jump in.
I had my hand raised.
Oh, did you? I see it now. So thank you. Go ahead.
Sorry.
And then Patrick, I see yours there.
You mentioned the focus on social media and the need to develop membership, especially for younger generations. And I was just, when you were saying that, I was checking Clubhouse, the audio chat app, and I noticed that there is a room called Management Consulting. There is a room called the Consultants Corner, but the number of membership is ridiculous. So this is room for, or this is potential for ICMCI to position itself there as the go-to source for knowledge around management consulting by creating its own room, promoting that through existing members, and then in turn, younger people would start coming to those rooms or those chats, and hopefully gain interest into becoming CMCs, or at least members of local institutes. So that's worth spending some time on.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. That is good advice. Who else had their hand up? Was it Patrick? Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Dwight. And yeah, I would concur in terms of the process of getting reevaluated. It's quite a long-winded exercise, having gone through it this summer. So anything that can be done to short circuit that would be helpful moving forward in 3 years' time. But the question I want to ask is just a broader one. The number one issue from a technical point of view that we get back from all our consultants here, and I hear this across the pond in the UK as well, and from some of my European colleagues, is professional indemnity insurance. It's an ongoing thorn in the side. A lot of the providers have moved back from the provision of the service, and in the European context, if you are tendering for state business or European EU business, you have to have professional indemnity of a certain order and a certain kind of level, and it's getting more difficult and more costly to get that insurance. I'm just wondering is there anything as a, you know, a collective we could be doing with engaging with the insurance industry, or is there even members that have skill sets in this area providing services? Because it seems to me there's a common problem, and maybe there's a common solution, but it's certainly, if I look at year in, year out, what our members look at in terms of adding value, if we could crack that nut in terms of professional indemnity insurance and give them some, even not so much give them a significant discount, but actually secure them insurance at the level they got it last year, and B, just give them some confidence in terms of the provider. That'd be really helpful and powerful.
I think that's a really good idea, Patrick. We did look at that in breakthrough strategy days, and we couldn't find a carrier that was willing to accept global risk in those ways. But it may be time. It's new times now, and with virtualization of so many things, it might be time to look into that again. I know many institutes offer that at a national level, so that might be a way of starting with some of those providers to see if they might want to expand and provide more global coverage. But I know myself, many of my contracts now require the carrying of insurance. So if we can offer that at as good a rate or a better rate than general market rates, that could be a really good service. Are other institutes offering, I know CMC Canada is, are other institutes offering indemnity insurance as a
sorry, Dwight, just to make an observation in terms of membership retention, which we talked about earlier. If we could crack that nut and get a 5% saving on insurance, just a 5%, that would probably self-finance membership of the institute. So you then have members who are members at no cost because of the saving on their professional indemnity. And it would seem incumbent on us as management consultants that, you know, we should be able to kind of navigate something there, because if you can actually get them anchored at no cost, happy days, everyone's a winner.
Yeah, exactly. Other comments on this one specifically? Okay, Zainab, I see that your hand is raised.
Hi, hello, hello from Istanbul. I've been away for a long time, but I hope this will be a comeback for me and for YDD, because we've been having problems with our with not managing, but the financial side of our association. But I mean, things are looking better at the moment, and I just wanted to say hello to you all and tell you about a few things that we did in the last couple of years that might be, you know, a good example for other associations who are struggling. So now, YDD, Turkish Management Consultants Association, was formed in 1990 and started operating in 1991. So this is our 30th year, which means that our client base is old. Okay? Our members are getting old, and most of them, because of the volatility in our region, many of our old members have lost interest in management consulting and have gone on to new areas, mostly in the professional areas in different sectors. So we've lost quite a lot of members up until 2017. We also had a lot of management problems in the association. So about 50% of our members were non-responsive, and they'd lost all their sense of belonging. So I've been the chair for the last 4 years, and I think I'm going to continue for the next 2 or 3 years, because we have a lot of projects at the moment. So, but what we did was, first of all, we decided that because of our because of the increasing age of our members, we decided to focus on new members who were younger and who needed support. So we designed all of our training programs, all of our publicity and everything we did to reach out to these new and young consultants. I don't know if you've noticed, but in the Turkish side of LinkedIn, almost 1 in 3 is a consultant. some type of consultants. I mean, they can be coaches, mentors, management consultants, IT consultants, but they're all consultants. So we saw them as our best targets. And we tried to reach out to them. And instead of just asking them to become members, we decided to do some lots of activities that would draw their interest. So we started with lots of networking meetings. And before the COVID year, up until last year, I should say, up until last January, we were conducting monthly meetings, face-to-face meetings, and we conducted these not only in Istanbul, where our headquarters are, but also in the cities where management consulting was, where there were a lot of management consultants. So this was mostly the main cities. And we also went to have talks with most of the government agencies, including development agencies and institutions that supported SMEs, where consultants were much in need. So we established good connections with them. And when the COVID pandemic started, we were just increasing our members, and all of a sudden, of course, as in each sector, as it happened in all sectors, our membership applications, activities, and income sources, all of them dropped down. So we decided to switch on to online services, and we started Zoom webinars. With the Zoom webinars, we said that one a month, it would not be enough, so we should do it every week. And we started getting people coming over to our webinars who had never heard of us before. And because of these activities, just in the last 2 years, we had about 38 new members. Of course, this doesn't show a positive, there's not much positive increase because we have the old members who are leaving YDD, but still we have a lot of new bloods in the system at the moment, and all of them are eager to support YDD in its activities. We also decided to start working with universities, and we developed some management consulting certificate programs with 2 universities. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we couldn't start the programs, but they're still available, and we'll be starting them as soon as things settle down. We also have a management consulting essentials program, which we've been giving for the last 20 years. And we're just developing this program every year. And we added new items to it, like strategic planning training, IT consultancy skills, which is much in demand. And we've conducted these training programs with EBRD in our region, both here in Turkey and in Cyprus as well. And this also acted as a very positive, showed a very positive face, the very positive face of YDD. We also started a digital transformation program for both YDD and its members. We're currently working on a software tool that will be making available to our members in next year. The webinars are much in demand, and we have over 120 attendees for each webinar, which is a very good number. Thinking that we started with about 25 attendees, so participants. So this is a very good number for us. We also started a webinar series with the university. We have our consultancy webinars, and we have the webinars that we conduct with universities for SMEs and for entrepreneurs, which we started this year. And we're going to have our third session at the end of this month. This is also, just to show that we're working together with universities and with SMEs, and we're trying to get the public sector interested as well, so they can join our panels and our webinars as well and talk about the needs of the SMEs. So we try to go hand in hand with all these institutions. I mean, universities and the public sector. We also have lots of...
Okay, I think, I'm sorry, this is very interesting, but I'm...
So all in all, we started using the social media much more actively, which showed an 80% increase in our like ratios. So all in all, I mean, all these efforts, and we started a European Union project for 200,000 euros, which increased our publicity rates. So all in all these efforts have shown us that the more input we put into our work as the managing board, the more positive results we get. So I would just advise all struggling associations to go forward with their projects no matter what, and to increase use of social media, more cooperation between associations and universities. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
And by the way, we had a lot of unpaid dues, which have been paid because of all our struggles. So now I think we're just at a zero balance. Okay.
I know you've made our treasurer very happy with that. So I can see all the work that has gone behind that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So sorry if I took too much of your time.
I appreciate it. I just want to give some others some time as well, but I really appreciate the update. Thank you. So Hosema, did you have your hand raised or was nope?
Just saying hello to Zainab. It was
I see. Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Any other comments for us in terms of strategic orientation or thoughts from your institute? Well, while you're thinking about that, there's one thought that all these thoughts come flying through your mind while people are talking. Earlier on, we were talking about new entrants into the consulting practice, and one other, and now stop me if I talked about this at the morning session, but it was about entry-level certification programs. Have we talked about that today? Yeah. Okay. So there, I think there's increasing interest because it is solving the problem of how do you find the new entrants. So those people who have said that they want to be management consultants and then just print the business card and now they're a management consultant. So what is it that we can offer to those individuals that creates them, that inspires them to be affiliated with like-minded professionals and do join the institute, get entry-level training, and then eventually go on to be the CMC. But we need something that's earlier than that in the process. Angelo, I saw you flag your hand. How are you doing?
We've been doing that for probably 10, 12 years. And it does help because the CMC process tends to scare a lot of people off. And once they've seen the benefits and they become what we call full members, they can then apply to become CMCs. And that tends to improve the ratios of conversion because they have actually experienced the institute before they apply for CMC.
Okay. And what do you call those people that just come in? Are they members?
We have affiliate, associate, member, and CMC. So the affiliate is really someone who's just showing interest in the institute. They just have to sign the code of conduct. The associate is somebody with less than 3 years experience. The member has all the requirements of a CMC without going through the assessment procedure, which means they're ready for assessment when they produce their portfolio and apply for CMC.
Okay, so you kind of created the ladder in terms of building up towards the CMC. Perfect.
In fact, it's a requirement of our qualifications authority that we have pathways for professional designations. So we were already ahead of them, but it works for us.
Okay, thank you. Do any others have a different level of certification that's lower than the CMC that you offer to your members? You do in Turkey, Zeynep?
Yeah, we have two types of certifications. One is actually, we've been doing it for a long time. We have these Essentials of Management Consulting program. It's a 6-day program, and we give it to all new entrants. And at the end of it, we give a certificate, but it's not like the CMC certificate. It just teaches the basic skills. And we also have an ongoing project. We're trying to get our national standards and national competencies certified by the public sector. So I think next year we'll have I don't know if we can make it mandatory like in Austria, regulated like in Austria, but we'll do our best to do so. But we're going to have a national certification program for management consultancies in the levels 5, 6, and 7. So 6 is just general management consultancy, and level 7 will be for CMCs and above.
Okay, thank you very much. Rima, I know you're joined by phone. They weren't able to solve her internet connection problem, so she's on by phone. Are you able to, do you have any comments for us or any, I always appreciate your insights, Rima.
I heard some of the conversation as I connected late. I'm sorry, everyone, and welcome and thank you for joining us. What I heard in the morning and what I heard now is actually very encouraging. Even though we're all facing problems, we're actually fighting. So it proves that we're survivors, that we will be enhancing the membership value. And that is a great outcome even after a pandemic. One of the things that caught my attention is the amount of services that you're offering at YDD. So Zainab, hats off to you guys. It's beautiful to hear that you actually stood up and did something about it. Please know that we're here to support you. The certification and the different levels is something that you already talked about at the board, Dwight, when talking about the different strategic new initiatives that could be put on the table. But I would love for everyone to remember the current initiatives that we have. Your input towards those is appreciated. And the fact that maybe we should actually give them some attention, because I believe some of those services would actually assist your members. So if you need any assistance in knowing more about any of the projects that are already run and how you can implement it and even implement it sooner at your institute, just drop me an email. And I promise by tomorrow I'll have good internet. That's it, Dwight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So just 1 minute to close, and we came up with an analogy in the earlier session today. Alfred's when we were talking about time zones and having 2 different sessions, he said that the sun rises and the sun sets over ICMCI because we are such a global organization. So that means that the sun is always shining somewhere on ICMCI. So that reflects your thoughts, Rima. I want to thank you all for your time today. Time is the most precious gift because you can't make more of that. So thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate that and the feedback. And do feel at any time that you have a question or a comment or an insight, do send an email, because I always enjoy hearing from you and putting your ideas into action. So thank you very much, all. That brings us right to the hour, and we'll send you out the notice for next month's session a couple of weeks in advance.